This show is sponsored by GeForce Now, NVIDIA's cloud gaming service that lets you play PC games you own across nearly all of your devices by transforming nearly any laptop, desktop, tablet, and smartphone into a powerful PC gaming rig you've always dreamed of. Check out new games joining every GFN Thursday on the blog and register for a priority membership for the best cloud gaming experience at geforcenow.com.
Welcome everybody to another spectacular episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Reeves, and today I'm joined by Alex Van Aken.
Hey, Ben.
And Alex Stadnick.
Hello, friends. Hello, Ben.
And we have a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about the Pokemon Presents that just happened yesterday. We're going to be talking about the new Ghost of Tsushima. Man, I still can't get the name right. The new Ghost of Tsushima director's cut that just came out, add some new things, a whole new island to explore. That's fun. We're going to talk about 12 Minutes, that cute little indie game we have been talking about.
That adorable little wholesome indie game.
Yeah, I think it's terrifying. It turns out, but it does look cool. Blake has some thoughts he wants to share about it. But before we get into all that, we have a little bit of news at the top of the show, a little bit of sad news. And just to inform everybody out there for listening that this will be my last episode hosting the Game Informer Show. The decision was made, just as clarity, I'm not leaving Game Informer. It's not one of these instances. I actually still will be around. They are going to ban me from all of stuff, but I'll still be here. I'm still in the building.
You get a paycheck. You just don't have to work.
Yeah, I worked it out. It's a good deal. So I'm not leaving, and so I still will have the opportunity to pop back on the show from time to time, which is great. But the decision was made by Andy Reiner, our editor-in-chief, that it was time to shake things up and get a new host in here. So Alex and Alex are going to be the new co-hosts of the Game Informer Show. How's it going, guys?
Hello, nice to meet you, Ben.
Yeah, hello.
Nice to meet you.
Greetings. Yeah, we'll be taking over. I will be host. Alex will be my co-host, and we have some ideas to really shake things up, and not that like the show was bad by any stretch, right? Like, Ben, I think you did a fantastic job, especially in the midst of COVID, but you have your own stuff you're working on now too, correct?
I really have a job outside of this.
That's it, yeah.
So I'm just hanging out in the building. No, yeah, of course, like I don't think we really promoted it much, but I got promoted. That's what we promoted, was me.
Yeah.
I got promoted to online content manager. So that's a new role. Happened a couple of months back. We didn't really talk about it on this show. So if all you do is listen to this podcast, you're like, whatever, who's this idiot who hosts? Well, it turns out I'm a boss now. And so that comes with some extra roles and things. And so I'm going to be doing that stuff. Some of it's top secret, but
business things.
But I still want to jump on the show from time to time and harass you guys and talk about the games I'm playing for sure. But I know you guys have some big plans for the show. Do you want to give an overview? Like, what can fans expect? Like, why should people keep listening?
Yeah, I think Alex and I are really, really excited to take this over, right? This is a huge legacy podcast that we're stepping in some really big shoes. And I know I'm very much looking. Yeah. 13 or 16?
Oh, yeah, 16.
Man, you got 16. Some jack feet over there. Damn.
Yep.
Skyrim troll feet.
Yeah, I'm basically like Bugs Bunny.
Okay, fair.
Wears shoes. The classic cartoon character that wears shoes. Perfect go-to. Anyway, you were saying.
Anyways, yeah.
What's your plan for the show?
So we are going to take it back. We really want to be able to hit on the week's big news, right? Lately, the podcast has been about the games we're playing, and I think that's great. We're not losing that, but we also wanted to shake things up a little bit in that way and, keep things fresh in that way and keep it moving. Some of it's behind the scenes stuff too that we're going to do, especially pandemic era recording, right? We're going to do some more stuff to make it a better audio experience for everyone.
Yeah. And we started that new process actually last week. You may have noticed it sounds a little different. It sounds way better. Maybe you didn't notice at all, but we have new production processes. Even though we're still working from home, the show should sound a lot better starting last week.
Yeah. And then there's also little things too we're doing, like if you are a part of our our official Discord that we launched as part of our Twitch subscriber base, right? We're gonna get questions from you in there. We're gonna get feedback from you in there. And I really want this. My vision for this is I want this to be your show, the community show, right? Because y'all help us build this, and I want to make sure that you feel involved and we continue to grow this with you. And that's what I'm really excited about, right? I think some of our favorite stuff, right, is community emails. We have some new. I'm putting a call out. We have a new community section we're going to add that I'm very excited about. We want
in Discord, just
in yeah.
So
Yeah.
join our Twitch streams and join our Discord, because I think it's a good time, good community in there.
Yes, definitely. We are also adding. I'm putting the call out right now. For the actual show, we want your hot takes. We're gonna add a little section, community section, that you can send us your best hot takes about games, and I don't know if we're gonna rank them, but we're gonna discuss them. We're gonna
we're gonna tell you if you're dumb or not.
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna Minnesota nice it. Be like, oh,
I'm not from Minnesota, so I'm just gonna say, Breath of the Wild weapon durability is a good design choice.
Bro, I didn't ask for your hot take. I'm asking for the community's hot take.
Oh, my bad. I misunderstood. That's my bad. Yeah. We probably should have met about this before all of this happened,
Probably, yeah.
As a member of the community now and no longer a host, I want to say that my hot take is Blake Hester is always wrong.
That agree. But man, they should make you boss around here. That is a very, very good take.
I'm gunning for promotion.
There you go. Yeah. So really, in all seriousness too, like one of the things we're excited about, right, is kind of taking this back to the Tim Turry, Ben Hansen days where, it's always going to be Alex and I, right? There's going to be covers, trips that come up and whatnot, but we're always going to be there. So you can form a little familiarity with us. And I think that's a good thing. And I also, I think that's an opportunity for y'all to give us your feedback in as respectful as you can, right? This is our first. I mean, Alex has hosted podcasts outside of here. I've hosted podcasts outside of here, and we've been on the GI show a good amount. But we're gonna make mistakes. We're big goofs. We're gonna be goofs. But at the same time, we want to know what we can do better. And I think that's going to be a huge part of y'all's feedback. So
and to clarify, it's not just us. We're still having, like Ben said, the rotation of GI editors, developers, guests from the industry.
Yep.
So just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and that's another big thing too, and something we've even started in the Reeves era of the podcast is bringing guests on that from other communities that can speak to games probably better than we can, right? We've had Khalif Adams on, we had Danny O'Dwyer on, Paris Lilly. We've had a lot of good people on, and we really want to reemphasize that and continue to take advantage of the fact that we're all on Zoom calls right now or Discord calls. So
yeah, for sure. And just to all our listeners out there, like the guests and the segments and all that stuff that we've been doing for the last several months to a year, these two guys have been a big part of that. They've been a big part of helping put all that stuff together and run the show. So treat them with some respect and give them a chance. I think it'll be a fun show. And you two guys, like, congrats, good luck. Don't let the wheels fall off the ship.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's one of those wheel boats, apparently.
Yeah.
The duck boat. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, should we get on with it? Enough jibber jabbering?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So. Well, I'm going to take off. I'll let you guys run the show. Maybe I'll be back in a couple weeks. But until then, goodbye, everybody.
Okay. Time to run it back. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly gaming podcast releasing every Thursday. I'm your host, Alex Stadnick, and as always, I'm honored to be joined by my lovely co-host, the illustrious Alex Van Aken. Join us each episode alongside a rotating crew of GI editors and special guests from across the industry as we bring you the latest gaming news, reviews, and big man swag your eyes and ears can handle. This week, we're breaking down our thoughts on the latest Pokemon news, 12 minutes, and Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. But first, let me introduce our panel. Blake Hester is here. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello, it's me, the new host of the Game Informer Show. Thank you so much, Craig, in the comments. I know you've been dying for this. Here I am, baby.
Is this your coup? Is this what
Sorry.
you've been waiting for?
Sorry, Craig. Derek in the comment. I don't know. We banned that guy. It doesn't matter what his name is.
You've got his name like written in red on the walls of your
Yeah.
apartment.
Talk chick you hit, Derek.
There we
Can't
go.
comment now.
There we go. And of course, the wonderful, the Madden player who I won't forget anytime soon, Jake Musau. Hello, sir.
Whoa, hello. Happy to be here.
Hello. Welcome to the new era of the GI show. As you heard in the beginning segment, it is now the Alex and Alex co-hosted show, which is wild. It still doesn't feel real. I'm being completely honest. So.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's a pretty cool opportunity. We're excited.
It's so good. I am so excited. Another shout out to Ben Reeves. You know, like Ben was a great host. You know, Ben was a very different host than what we're gonna be. You know, because I am not as funny as Ben. I'm not as dry humor. You know what I mean? As the humor there.
I am.
But we can be louder.
We're working in a flawed but beautiful industry, and we want to bring out the best parts of it, right? And celebrate the games that deserve celebrating and the people that deserve celebrating. So, and that's going to be a huge part of Alex and my hosting. So, very excited. We want to bring it, like I said, like the Ben Hansen, Tim Turry era is very much an inspiration for us, and we want to live up to that lofty standard. So,
yeah. So every week we'll be here, but of course we're also going to be joined by other editors from the mag and guests and all that fun stuff. So
for sure. And I promise I won't have to read the rigmarole every week, but you know, it's first week.
I'm a little
jittery. I'm a little jittery. I'm not going to lie.
It's tradition. If anybody has ever podcasted out there, you always know the first episode, it's got some, some kinks.
Yeah. But enough of this new era business. Let's get to what you came for, right? This week has been packed, and I'm so excited that we get to host on a week that is full of exciting news and games, right? This week, as part of the format change, we're going to make sure we hit on the biggest news / themes of the week. And this so happens that this week, it's all about Pokemon, baby. Pokemon Presents was finally dropped today on Wednesday morning, as you're listening to it yesterday. And there was a lot of good news. So, Mr. Van Aken, I don't know, do we want to go over everything or just hit the main highlights for us?
I feel like the big things are Pokemon Unite characters. We can just briefly touch on that.
Yep.
Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. We got some new looks at that. I think we're like getting customization options, and honestly, it just looks good. I can't wait to play that game. I think the big focus will probably be Pokemon Legends Arceus. That was definitely the biggest part of the showcase today. But yeah, where do you want to start, Alex?
Let's start at, I think you've hit some of the things that you're excited about. I know Unite's getting a September 22nd release on mobile, and it's cross-play between Switch and mobile. Cafe Mix, Pokemon Cafe Mix is getting a remix, and Cafe Remix, going from Cafe Mix to Remix. I don't know. It wasn't enough for me to be interested in it, but I hope people enjoy the remix. Hopefully DJ Khaled's on it. It'll be a whole thing. So. But so those are the main things. There was some Pokemon Go. They're adding Galarian Pokemon, which is cool. But let's cut to the meat, shall we? And that they started it off with the Diamond and Pearl remix. And from what I'm understanding on the internet, because I never played those first games, and I don't know if y'all did either, but it sounds like we are getting a pretty sizable increase on things to do in it. Obviously, the visuals are new. The Pokemon can follow behind you now, which is a dumb thing to be excited about. I admit that fully, but I'm excited. I love when my little. I'm gonna be so happy when Chimchar is following me behind me, in the beginning. And I'm really impressed with the lighting upgrades that they've made in there. I think it's come a long way since we last saw it in February, which is exciting.
Particularly the sunsets look really nice.
Yeah, the God rays and everything look beautiful.
Yeah.
It's nuts, dude.
Isn't that crazy? I feel like we're like going back to like 2010 with the God rays, but it's like finally Pokemon has them.
For sure. Yeah, and the more we learned, we'll get to Legends in a second, but the more we learned about Legends, the more I got excited about Diamond, because they really are connecting things like ancestry wise and story wise. So I feel like this is going to be the perfect primer for Legends. So
isn't Legends, I know I don't want to get too into the weeds, but isn't it's taking place in the same region, right, as Diamond and Pearl? Is that the
correct?
Gist? Okay.
Yep. So it's going to be and forgive me, I can't remember the name of the region is, but it's Sinnoh in the feudal time era, long ago, and galaxy far away type of thing. So Blake and Jay. Blake, you're not a big Pokemon guy, right?
No, sir.
No, sir. Okay, moving
I
right
have a
along.
question.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
About these little pocket monsters, these God Ray Romanos, they sound great. All of that. If I've only played Pokemon Silver, and that was, how old am I? 27, 22 years ago. Can I jump into this game and pick up the story and be good to go?
Yes.
Yeah, the stories are all independent.
So.
And the story, I don't think anybody, I mean, I don't want to speak for anybody else. I'm not playing the Pokemon games for the story. And I would guess that a lot of people are in the same boat.
That can't be right.
No, surely not. But
Martin
to be fair, you
Scorsese's
did
not
play the
directing
best,
Pokemon.
Blake, you did play the best generation of Pokemon. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, I played it and I was like, it doesn't get better than this. I don't need to play any of the rest of them, so I didn't.
Exactly.
That's not true. I played Pokemon Go.
And it was a great time, right? Okay, moving on from you, Jay.
Past tense. Played.
Yeah, Jay, I know you're an RPG fan, but how much of a Poke fan are you?
I really do like Pokemon. I did play the original Diamond and Pearls. I'm trying to remember. I think my sister bought me those two games with like a Nintendo DS. So it's like a pretty fond memory of like being able to have both instead of just like one or the other.
Yeah.
And just having it all to myself, you know what I mean? But I love them. They were great. I think they were, I played like Leaf Green before, but I think Diamond and Pearl, hopefully this isn't blasphemous, but I think they were the first ones that I really played the whole way through.
Okay.
And yeah, I love them. So I'm really excited for the new one, the revamps, and like you guys have already said, it looks gorgeous. I mean, that alone, just like how good it looks, I was like, oh man, I'm sold.
Yeah, I think what we saw today is not, if you're already a hater on the chibi style, this isn't going to change your mind. But I do think this answers some of the internet's questions, right? Of like looking a little sterile, not as alive as probably some people wanted to, which is funny. We're talking about a chibi inspired game, you know what I mean? I don't need immersion, right? Compared to something like maybe Legends Arceus, which we'll talk about in a second. But because some of the new features they talked about was hideouts, right? And Jay, correct me when I'm stepping over myself here, but hideouts were a big thing. You can put statues into these rooms that you can customize, and then that will reflect in some of the actual hideouts that you go into, and you can catch Pokemon from there. It sounds like the competitions are being revamped a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting, which is exciting. The Pokemon Home integration, and I know people are going to love that. All in all, this is looking like it'll be the best place to play these games. As I said before, I have not played them before, so this is a new Pokemon experience for me, and I get to finally, like I said on stream, figure out why people love Bidoof so much, because it has escaped me up until this point.
That's who I voted for in the 2020 election, Joe Biden.
Oh yeah.
Joe
Biden.
Thank you.
That was a good one. Yeah,
that was pretty solid.
So moving right along.
Polls.
I love it. But moving on to like, if those were the appetizers, right? The salad, you got your salad, right? You got your little hors d'oeuvres here and there. Beautiful, great meal so far, right?
Yes, chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. They move on to Pokemon Legends Arceus, which was kind of a unknown at that point, kind of like the Pokemon. You see, I can joke too. I'm sorry. I'll renounce my hosting. I promise.
Cut that one out.
There we go. And I think we got a lot of answers to what this game actually is today. And I can only speak for myself, but I'm more excited, I think, than I was before, but I still have questions. So for those who don't know or didn't see it, this is the open world RPG that hopefully fans have been asking for the last 20 years, 10 years, however long you think you've been asking for it. It takes place in a ancient feudal Sinnoh region, which I can't remember. Like I said, I can't remember what it's called. But I
am looking.
Okay, thank you. But basically, you are tasked to fill out the region's first Pokedex, which is an exciting change from me, because as much as I love trying to be the very best, like no one ever was, I'm excited to change that formula up. it's not everything I was talking about in the predictions video with like fully voiced and that kind of stuff, but there's enough of a difference here that has me excited. Alex, you were on the stream with me. What else did you think?
Yeah, it's called the Hisui region, by the
Hisui.
way.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, what I'm excited for is kind of, I definitely have some concerns, and I'm cautiously optimistic still. Like, I think some of the environments look a little empty, but at the same time, a lot of people said that about Breath of the Wild, and that's my favorite open world game. And so I'm definitely like waiting till I play it to kind of see how it all feels in the moment. But things I did like were the new agile and strength styles, or strong style, and essentially they're new ways to interact with the combat systems and Pokemon. For the longest time, I feel like Pokemon has been like mash the A button. You have it's always going to be Ember or Flamethrower for me. I've got my main ability that I pretty much always use. It's supposed to, strong styles, obviously you do more damage. Agile style for your Pokemon, I think ups their speed and their turn order, because what is another thing that's new is some Pokemon can attack now multiple times in a row based on their speed stats, which is really, it's not always going to be the back and forth turns like from past games, which is really exciting to me. And then lastly, I think I've always been curious after this game was announced, how are we going to get around this world? One thing that made Breath of the Wild so great was you could climb everywhere, and there was that stamina system that I really loved. And they were kind of like, they used similar language and definitely like similar imagery in this game. And so I was always like, well, you're not climbing around, so are we just like walking, Ocarina of Time style? Like, we're technically in a vast world, but it's walled off. And, so I was curious about that. They answered that. There's 3 traversal options. You can use water Pokemon to, surf along the water. You can fly in the air with bird Pokemon, and then you can ride around on a Weirdeer, which is Hisu region. I'm trying to. What's the? If it's Hisui, it's the Hisuian. Yeah, Hisuian
that sounds
form.
right. Yeah,
the feudal form of Weirdeer.
Yeah.
You can ride around them as a mount. So that was kind of like my curiosity has been satiated for now, but
For sure.
those are the highlights for me.
Yeah, and a couple questions on my end too. Is the mount system that we saw with the flying, with the riding, right? Is that limited to what we saw, or can I jump on a Arcanine, for example, to ride around? Because that'd be dope. I'd like to do that, or a Rapidash or something like that.
Yeah.
They still have questions to answer in that way. I think Alex, you're spot on in, how are we gonna? Is there climbing involved with this? Is there not? I think we're already setting this game up for failure is not the right word, but I think expectations are being set that this is Breath of the Wild for Pokemon.
It's not good. I don't. Yeah, the more I see, I'm like, okay, it's not that, but it's reminiscent.
But I think that's okay. Like,
yeah, totally.
Like I talked about on stream, Immortals Phoenix Rising was not Breath of the Wild. It took some inspirations from it for sure, as most open world games will. But it wasn't that. It didn't hit those highs, and that's okay. I love that game. I think that's great. I think there's room to not be a generation-defining title and still be good. So that's one thing I'm nervous about going forward. Jay, what did you think about what you saw today from Legends?
I really feel like Van Aken really touched on a lot of the similar things that but I will say that, and kind of what you were saying, Statnik, this might be like one of the first Pokemon games that like I do get for the story potentially. I don't know. And I'm just kind of interested in that. I'm really interested in the setting as well. I feel as if like I've always wanted a feudal Japan Pokemon game, you know what I mean? So it's just really exciting to finally have that. And you guys are right. Like I think the expectations are like through the roof for this game. And I think I would say most of the time, Pokemon really, like, just the franchise as a whole is usually answered like very positively to those high expectations. So I'm really hoping that this is going to be the game that everyone's really been waiting for, like a real like open world, like hyper dynamic Pokemon game. I'm really hoping for that. I'm really excited for it. So
for sure. Good. And to your point quickly about story, it looks like they're setting it up where you are actually working for the whatever era this is, the version of Team Galactic.
Right.
Because the logo was very similar, right? And I think that's
Mm-mm.
interesting. So maybe we see what goes wrong with Team Galactic. Like I said, I don't know their story. I know Team Rocket. But I think that's interesting, and they're intriguing me, right? And that's all I can ask for, really. Blake, I think I know the answer.
What's up?
Did you see anything from Legends Day that made you go, okay, okay, I see that?
Well, now that's an interesting question, because this implies I watched it, which to date I have not. No.
All right. Well,
That's okay.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that, because I know people in the comments are gonna be, oh,
You don't have to like
doesn't
everything.
He doesn't do his job. He didn't watch the stream he wasn't supposed to cover. I know they're gonna say that, but no, I haven't watched it yet.
Excuse me.
Yes,
you
sir.
100% did your job, because you are actually the main topic for this week. Unless anyone wants to say anything else about the Pokemon Present stream.
No, I think I'm good. Crafting looks cool too. Crafting Pokeballs. That looks awesome. I want to see more of that. That's all I have left.
And game's not delayed, which I thought it would be. So January 28th, 2022 on they made sure you knew it was a Friday. So you can take time off. But Mr. Hester, you were doing your job because you wrote a review for a little game we like to call 12 Minutes.
Well,
Awesome.
we don't. I mean, that's the name. It's like we don't particularly care one way or the other what we call it. Like I don't love calling it 12 minutes because the word 12 has become this word in my brain that is just like, it's spelled so weirdly that it's lost all meaning to me.
You like look at it and you're like, is that right? Is that how you spell it?
Yeah. Well, originally I was writing it numerically, like the number 12.
Yeah.
12 minutes, but then I realized the name is
Spelled
12
out.
spelled out, so I had to go through and fix all of that, and after a while it just started.
It rewired your brain.
What's the Jim Carrey movie? Where is it, the number 36? Right, where he's like seeing 36 everywhere, and he's connecting it to like attacks and stuff like that. And just me, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that's
I'm
what
like
it
the premise to Lost, honestly.
Yeah. Anywho, Blake, so what did you think?
Yeah.
This is the indie game from Annapurna that has James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe, and you're stuck in a time loop trying to figure out why you're stuck in a time loop. Take it from there, sir.
Yeah, so it is the top down. It showed up. I was announced like before I was born, like 6 or 7 years ago.
2015, I think.
Yeah, it's been around forever. It's one of those games, kind of like Stray, that has just been floating around forever. Top down, one location, which is like 3 rooms, 3.5 if you consider an enterable closet. And what happens is you play this man who comes home, this man voiced by James McAvoy, who I'm not super familiar with, but does a great job nonetheless. Man comes home, his wife, played by Daisy Ridley, who I am familiar with. His wife is like, yo, welcome back to your apartment. All is as you left it. Nothing out of the normal here. And she invites you to eat your favorite dessert, which looks great. It's like a little chocolate mousse cake. And she reveals you're going to be a father. That's great. If
Beautiful.
That's like what you want. And right at that moment, someone knocks on the door. And it's a man claiming to be a police officer. Now, this man, played by Willem Dafoe, just the greatest. I mean, now tuned to the motherfucking greatest. That dude, oh my lord, he nails it in this thing. He plays a police officer knocking on your door. And he comes in and basically just immediately accuses your wife of murdering her father 8 years ago, wrestles her to the ground, zip ties her, which I find an important clue to the man's identity. Not handcuff, he zip ties.
Okay.
And then does the same to you and just brutally chokes you unconscious, or perhaps to death. I'm not entirely sure. But right at that moment, you awake, however many minutes before, at the moment you entered the apartment, and thus creates the time loop. So you are now stuck in hell, or a puzzle game, whichever, synonyms, if you ask me. Yeah, like whichever one you want to call it. Where you are trying to get to the bottom of a few different things. A being, the is going on. B being, did your wife murder her father? C, who is this man? And you're kind of like picking around your apartment, piecing together the clues, but you're stuck within a tight time restriction of, I couldn't actually nail this down if it was 10 minutes or 12 minutes.
I think it's 10, actually.
Yeah,
it feels like
so.
10.
Yeah.
Call 12 minutes.
Yeah, I know. I don't know where the other 2 minutes are coming from, but that is your time restriction. So everything, basically the entire solution of the puzzle, which I mean, it does mostly, has to fit within 10 minutes. You don't get there in 10 minutes. It's a remarkably long game for a game called 12 minutes. It's like 6, 7, 8 hours long. Yeah, that's the gist of it. It's really cool. I mean, it's weird. My review is up on the site and on our YouTube channel, so you can see my thoughts in depth. I think the game is really neat. I liked the story. The acting is fantastic. I mean, Willem Dafoe crushes it in this. But it's a bit of a victim of its own design, in the sense that it's a time loop. And that's the narrative conceit. But it's a time loop for the player as well, obviously. And if you get stuck in a puzzle game with a time loop, it is maddening. Because you're not just stuck, you're stuck on a time limit. So you're stuck
every 10 minutes, you have to start it over.
Starting over. Okay. Yes. So you are literally, I think my lead to my review is being stuck in a time loop game is a unique hell, because it's interesting. If we want to get a little highfalutin about it, it's interesting the way that actually matches what's happening narratively in the game in a way video games just kind of can't do. I mean, media can't really do. You can't intimately share an experience with what you're viewing or reading. Like, if you get shot in a game, unless you're in that Shia LaBeouf movie, you're not shot in real life, But like the man's character, he doesn't have a name in the game. He's just the dude. Not the dude. Not the
say, like what?
It's not the Big Lebowski. Man, the man. You know what's funny is Willem Dafoe is in a Lars von Trier movie called Antichrist, and about a married couple, and they don't have names. I believe it's just man and wife, which are also the names of the characters in 12 minutes. Anyway, he is obviously very frustrated by the circumstances around him because they're horrific. There's a lot of brutality, a lot of blood, a lot of violence. But he's also just like, man, I need, this is frustrating. I want to figure out what's going on. How do I break free of this? And as the player, when you get stuck in that, through the confines of a obtuse puzzle game, you share that frustration. And that's really cool and unique. But it's also dumb and frustrating. Like on the highfalutin, I used to write for Kill Screen, so bit of a highfalutin here. I like the idea of being stuck within man's frustrations. As the player, after a while, I am a bit frustrated because I just want to progress. I have an embargo to hit. I think where that kind of clashes with the game, and this might be my own fault. I'm a huge immersive sim arcane fan. I wish just all games were that.
Same.
For whatever reason, my brain really wanted to believe, because the game kind of tricks you into thinking experimentation is really at the heart of this game, and it's really not. Like you can experiment with certain items in the world, but a lot of times it's just for fun. Like you can pick up a knife and use it to do knife things, and then you can stash it away. And it's like, well, really, there's not much. That's not really a solution in the game. It's just something you can do. But it implants in your brain that this is how you play the game. Experiment with it, push at it, see how it reacts to you. And it's not really that. If you're experimenting, it's within these tightly controlled specifics. And when that runs up against being stuck in the game, it is very frustrating because there is, it might be just one tiny little thing you're missing, but the game is like kind of winking and nudging you, being like, well, we'll try, play around with this environment. And that's not actually how it works. It's find this one thing and make sure you click the exact dialogue prompt you need or start over. So that can be frustrating. But at the end of the day, I liked it. I thought the story was cool. I think the acting goes a long way in delivering a story that's not very unique, but is which I don't think is a bad thing. I think a derivative story well told is just as good as a wholly new thing.
I think that's most of media today.
Sure.
And
I think that's the case here is you have a story you've seen before, but well told in a way that makes it worth seeing through. The twist, predictably, has been a little contentious. There's a twist at the end that deals with some sexual taboo, I will say, that it's well tread in other media, not so much video games. If you're someone that might stick out to, see if you can do a little research. If you're okay with spoiling yourself, I guess just spoil yourself. If not, Polygon, I think, has an article that kind of navigates how to deal with that without saying what the actual twist is. Because it is pretty shocking when you see it. And I don't think video games necessarily have broached similar topics before.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Sure. Yeah. Alex, you haven't finished the game yet?
I haven't. I'm about 2 hours in.
Okay.
This is one of the rare games where I didn't have to play that much for the video review because it's so spoiler heavy, and so I've kind of just been enjoying it at my own pace.
I think when you hit the twist, it's unavoidable, and it's one of those things where it's like, wow, I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't been in the depths of itch.io. Maybe plenty of games deal with this thing. I haven't really seen this brought up in games. And depending on what kind of media you consume outside games, maybe you haven't seen something tackle this specific sexual taboo.
For sure.
But if that stands out to you, if you have particular hangups around that type of stuff, like see if you can do your research to figure out if that's something you can handle. Because I'm a pretty weathered person at this point, and even when it came up to me, I was like, "Whoa, all right, damn." Okay. I'm not sure. Yeah. Sorry, to wrap up my thoughts on the conclusion, still not exactly sure where I land on it. I think it could have been handled better, not in necessarily a sensitivity way, but you got that. It feels earned in the moment. And the more I've sat on it, I'm like, some weird plot holes here, which I think is mentioned in my review. But
it is
anyway. Yeah, my conclusion overall was like, cool thing. It's on Game Pass, so if you got an Xbox, you got no excuse not to play it.
Oh, is it really on Game Pass? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's out the day this podcast goes live.
I feel like I have made a lot of progress in the very little time that I've played. I've seen a lot that I was not expecting to see, just because I happen to input the right sequence of events to make progress, right? And so I'm curious how that's going to affect my overall view of the game versus Blake. You had a different order of events that happened that led to you, being frustrated. So
I'll say this, to your point, this is a 0 or 100 game. You are either making landmark revelations in the story or you are going nowhere. And sometimes
I've had some things happen.
Sometimes you hit a run of them and you're like really making progress. But once you hit a roadblock, that clock is, I mean, the pause screen is literally the clock counting to 10. When you hit those roadblocks, it is brutal.
Oh, I have a question. If I hit pause, does the game keep going?
No.
Or it pauses time, right?
It pauses time.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was about to ask.
Because I've been doing that to think through things, and I just want to make sure I wasn't,
you're just actually getting in at the last second to fix the puzzle every time.
I think this was one of my most anticipated games for several years, and I think at the end of the day, I gave an 8 out of 10, which is the highest score I've given in my time at Game Informer. They don't put me on too many good reviews. Tell you what. They put me on some stinkers. But I gave it an 8 out of 10, which, as far as I'm concerned, great ass score. And I honestly, frustrations withstanding, like I feel like I got exactly what I wanted out of this game after being
Great.
stoked about it for several years. So
Cool.
I'm
It's a
hyped.
beautiful
on it.
thing. It's a
That
beautiful
is.
thing. Well, gents, that's a great start. We did it. I hosted a podcast. We can all go home now. I'm tired. I don't know about y'all.
Dad, we are home.
Yeah. let's
One of my
let's take
favorite Simpsons jokes.
let's take a break and then we'll get to some more of the games we're playing.
This episode of the Game Informer Show is sponsored by GeForce Now, NVIDIA's cloud gaming service that enables you to play real PC versions of your games that you already own from popular game stores. There's no need to repurchase your games, and you can play them on any GeForce Now compatible device. This service features over 1,000 games, with nearly 100 of those being free-to-play games. GFN Thursday is a weekly celebration of the newest games, features, and news streaming from the cloud to you. Every Thursday, GeForce Now adds support for more games, so check out the GFN Thursday blog to learn more. I've actually been a frequent user of the service myself in the past. Last New Year's Eve, my wife and I rented out a cabin for the weekend, and I was playing Rust with my brother, and I wanted to check in and fill our base up with resources. So I actually brought my wife. The only thing we could fit was my wife's really weak laptop that she used for like checking emails and stuff, and actually used GeForce Now, and it was actually a really great experience. It ran, smooth for cloud as far as cloud gaming goes. It was pretty cool, and I actually got a few kills against other players, which is I was curious about since it was a multiplayer game, how that would shake out. And overall, the experience really impressed me. Thank you so much to NVIDIA GeForce Now for sponsoring this episode of the Game Informer Show. Register today for a priority membership for the best cloud gaming experience at GeForceNow.com.
Oh, I'm the host for the future, not just today. I can't stop. Oh, okay. Oh, we're back.
I'll take
Hello.
over. I'll take over.
Nah,
I can do it.
Reiner would be pulling his little mustache out if that were the case. So welcome back, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful ad read, Mr. Van Aken. We appreciate you. Nothing's on fire yet. I think we're off to a good start.
We're still going.
We're still going. We're cruising. We living. So another part of the new format that we want to hit on is doing a bit of housekeeping. We think this is important because this can hit a couple of important buckets for us, some things that we think are important for you to know as viewers and listeners of the show. But let us know, all of this, we're bringing all this to the table, right? And we want you to let us know what works and what doesn't. But without any more preamble, I'm going to hand it over to Alex, and he's going to take care of some housekeeping for us.
Yeah, quick housekeeping. I think we're going to start it off at the top of housekeeping every week, just reading off one of our podcast reviews. If you guys are, going out of your way to leave a review, regardless of score, and letting us know how we're doing, how you enjoy the show, how we can improve, we want to, thank you on the show. So this week we're giving a shout out to Jestifer, who I believe is Jesse Vitelli. They gave us a 5-star review saying, great show and excellent folks. I've been a longtime listener of the Game Informer show, and every iteration is always exciting. The level of enthusiasm and excitement everyone brings is palpable. Love the crew, and it's the highlight of my week. Thank you so much, my friend. We appreciate you, Jesse. Everybody go give a shout out. Go check out Jesse over at Prima Games. He does great work. But yeah, so that's our review of the week. Of course, if you're willing to go leave us a review, we're going to thank you on the show. We appreciate your help with that. And reviews just help us to, honestly look good. Like it plays into the algorithm a bit with Apple Podcasts and such. But if people are looking for a new show, especially now that we have a new format, if you enjoy it, please let us know and share your review. We appreciate you. Up next, we've got some upcoming Twitch streams that we want to touch on Thursday. Alex, do you know what you're streaming on Thursday yet?
I don't yet. So, but
Okay.
I think this is a good time to call out that, and this is something that will last past Thursday. I don't know if we've done a good job communicating this, but Thursdays are like set your
stream
watches.
day.
We are
Yeah.
streaming. Like this
Yeah.
is now what replay is to Fridays is what we're doing on Thursdays. In that, we're gonna find the most interesting game of that week, whether it's new releases, whether it's content updates. We did Back for Blood, right? We've done I can't remember. We did Skyward Sword, whatever works in that time period, we're gonna do, and we're gonna have some fun streaming it. So
Usually 2 p.m. right on Thursdays.
2 p.m. is what we've been targeting. I think it's safe to say 2 p.m. is the time, just because sometimes there are other events, industry events that we'll do watch-alongs for. but we want to make sure that that 2 p.m. slot is for new games. So we've talked about
Ghost of Tsushima.
Ghost of Tsushima, maybe a little rematch in Madden. Jay, I don't even know if you're on tomorrow, but so we'll obviously we'll get that figured out. But just remember Thursdays, twitch.tv/Game Informer. Join us there. We usually have a lot of fun, and that's how you can be a part of our Discord.
Yeah.
we got to sub.
We got any extra Madden codes?
I don't know. I'll have to check.
Oh,
So,
The last time I
guy
played
over
Madden, I think I told Alex this earlier. It was Madden 09. I played one game, one match, and it gave me 650 gamer score. And I was like, yeah, cool game. I love it.
I had like Madden 04, 05, and it was when Jerry Rice was playing for the Raiders, which is my
Yeah.
team. And dude, unbelievable. That man could catch a BB blindfolded with a boxing glove on his hand. I didn't make that up. That's what
that's
what
pretty good.
people say about Jerry Rice.
I like
but
that. I
Yeah.
like that.
that was that good.
For sure.
Love it. Well, of course, head over to the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Game Informer. If you subscribe to the channel, you get access to our official community Discord. That is just so that we can kind of, keep trolls from entering the chat, we'll say. And we appreciate you if you're wanting to join. That is how you do it, via Twitch subscription, whether it's Twitch Prime or a regular sub. Moving on, notable YouTube videos of the week. I've got a video that is going up the same day this podcast should be airing, Thursday. Alex Stadnick gave me a bunch of good feedback on it, so I'll make some changes, but it's going to be great for it. It is how Breath of the Wild made me a Zelda fan 20 years later. Talking about, I played Ocarina of Time growing up as a kid, but I was never a fan because I could only afford to rent games, and that's kind of what that's what the video is about. So go watch the video. I'm not going to tell you all about it. But that is over on youtube.com/Game Informer. And lastly, before we get to the playlist, social media plugs. You can follow my man, Alex Stadnick, at Studnick76. You can follow me at It's Van Aken. Follow Blake at Metallica is Rad, and follow Jay at Jason_Guisao. That's Guisao. And of course, follow Game Informer at Game Informer on all the socials, the Twitters, the Instagram, all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's housekeeping for the week, Alex. Thank you for letting me get through the boring stuff. Let's talk about games.
Games. We love games, and frankly, we don't care who knows. This is a segment that we're gonna bring over from the Reeves era, Reevesian time, I think is how we look at that
Yes,
now.
the Reevesian
The
time.
dark ages.
This is these are this is a segment that I think we are. Sorry, I'm taking a note. It's going to vary from week to week, right? If we're in the doldrums of summer and there's just nothing out, we may change up, if we even do a playlist, right? But we want to make sure we have that freedom to, we're coming up on the fall where it's going to be game after game after game. So playlist isn't going away anytime soon, but just know that there may be some weeks that we play a little game here and there and we don't get to the playlist, and that's okay. So, but let's kick things off, shall we? It's in the title. It's part of why you're here. Let's talk about Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Oh my goodness, gents. Oh my goodness. So for those who don't know, Ghost of Tsushima, really amazing PS4 exclusive. Not anymore. Coming to PS5. And I thought this game was beautiful on the PS4. And then I turned on my PS5 and I am like, those, if y'all have played it, the sunsets, the sunrises, the gorgeous color palette that Sucker Punch has put in this game. And that just looks even better. And the main draw of this, though, for me, because I'm very much a person who, once I play a game and beat it, I'm pretty much done. The main draw of this for me was the Isle of Iki expansion that they're adding on with the director's cut. And what this is a whole extra side story that chronicles Jin's journey to Iki Island, in which he has a lot of history. I'm not going to get too much into the story, but in a way that it's tackling story in a way that seems to really hit home and matter to me. And I guess I say that because that's not always the case with DLC stories. I feel like, we can all think of games that put out DLC that had story that just felt like filler, you know what I mean? But this is really tying Jin's childhood and his growing up years, formative years, into the story and dealing with the consequences of some really not great stuff that has happened in his past. So I'm only 2 hours in, but I'm really, really enjoying it for that
And-
aspect of it.
I have a question. Are they? I didn't play much of Ghost of Tsushima. I really liked what I played,
Mhm.
but there's just so many other things to play. The story plays out in vignettes, right? Like memories. Is that correct?
So that's part of it. That is
Okay.
I'm trying to toe the line and not spoiling too much. I can't
Yeah.
really but there are memory sequences, and there are some even in the vein of, if anyone played the Arkham games, the Batman Arkham City, Arkham Origins, like that,
Mhm.
they feel like the Scarecrow sequences.
Okay.
In some of them, there's something that happens to Jin when he arrives on the island that causes some of these sequences that have been really, really cool so far. But it's still playing out in real time. It's not just memories, but that's a huge part of it, in connecting that tissue, because it is an extension of the story of Jin trying to balance being a samurai with the dishonorable aspects of what he has to do in order to save Tsushima. So, and from a gameplay perspective, they're varying it in interesting ways. If you didn't love Ghost's combat before, it's still there. Like, this is still Ghost of Tsushima. This isn't doing necessarily anything revolutionary in that way, but I love the combat, so I think it makes it even more interesting. They have these new enemy types called shamans, and they're real annoying in the best possible way. Like, they are very much, they're very effective in what they do, and you can get overwhelmed very quickly if you don't prioritize them, which is hard when, archers come in, when some of the captains come in and whatnot. So prioritizing them has been an interesting challenge. And, I like to rush in and not play the stealth game. So I think I would probably be better off if I did. But so targeting them has been an interesting thing. And the other interesting part of combat that I ran into is they have enemies now that will change weaponry, which is a big deal if you remember, because your sword stances that you select with, I think it's like R2 and the face buttons or whatever,
Mhm.
those allow you to counter sword enemies, shield enemies, spear enemies, what have you. So now you have to think even more on your toes, because you'll start a battle fighting a dude who has swords, and then he'll switch, and it's like, oh, I gotta hit this guy on the fly, I gotta change my stuff while also having to deal with all these other enemies. So I'm really enjoying that. And then they have some interesting side stuff that they've added too. They have a horse bash. I can't remember if that's exactly what it's called, move now, where you're riding on your horse. But regardless, it uses some of your resolve, which it allows you to do some of your special moves too. But you can use your horse to just absolutely barrel through a group of enemies, and it takes them out. And it is so satisfying, because you combine that with the PS5's DualSense controller, which they've added haptics and HD rumble and whatnot. I think that's Nintendo's thing, but regardless. So combining those, it's just really satisfying to just charge through a bunch of people, and adds to that horse combat. Because usually in the game, I would always get off my horse, do a showdown or whatever, and then just go to town. But I kind of like just barreling in and just wrecking folks that way. So I think I've hit the main thing. There's some fun stuff. There's different sanctuaries that you can find that I had to liberate one. But then it was a cat sanctuary, and it was similar to the haikus, where I got to play his flute, basically a song to kind of coax the cat in, and I get to feed him and pet him. It's great. You could pet the cat. It's a wonderful
Sounds like I need
thing.
to play this game.
Yes, you do. But the mini game is used through the tilting of the controller, which I didn't find too annoying, which is good, because I think motion controls like that can either be hit or miss, but I didn't mind it. So I really think this is something that fans of the game need to experience, in that, just with what it's doing with the story, and it's just more of what you love from the game, because it's beautiful worlds, it's the whole thing, and I'm really enjoying my time with it. And I think I took Ghost for granted last year a little bit, because I was looking forward to Last of Us was my game of the year. That was my big Sony exclusive, but then also like Miles Morales Spider-Man and the launch of the PS5. And I think I was suffering from a little bit of fatigue with open worlds. And I think this is one of the best open worlds that we have. And the expansion is hitting on all those notes. So I'm really, really liking my time with it. So
Awesome. I do have one last question.
Hit me.
Is the new island, like, could you go there Is it like in a separate instance, or is it like part of the main world now where you can go between the two at any moment?
So it is separate. You have to do a quest to initiate it, and then once you
Okay.
start it, you can't get off the island right away. I don't know. I
Okay.
haven't got far enough to find out when you can get off the island, but 2 hours in, you are locked in. So
Okay.
so take that for what you will. And also the game warns you, and this is me warning you. Look at me. Look at me.
Mhm.
I made a mistake because the game is like, hey, this is meant for experienced Ghost players, like be sure you're ready. I was like, yeah, whatever. This game is meant like, and that's no shite, because walking onto that island there, they treat those combat encounters like you've been playing for the last couple of months. So it may, to quote Matt Miller, you may want to wander around Tsushima a little bit, get your bearings back in the combat sense, and then go. It's not anything crazy. Like, it's not. I compared it to Doom Eternal's DLC, where it's like, I love Doom Eternal. I took some time off from it and tried the DLC, and I was like, this is too hard. Like, this is wild how hard this is. It's not that level of difficulty curve, but it definitely like refamiliarizes
Increases,
yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that's what I know. Are you
Sweet.
any of you guys excited for it? Are you gonna pick it up?
Absolutely, for
Yeah.
sure. I didn't play the PS4 one enough. I also agree with everyone. It is a gorgeous game. My goodness. But I'm very excited to play it on P5. So that'll be
For
fun.
sure. Yeah, I think this is shaping up to be the best place to play it. So
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
I want to dive into it. I think I have my copy still from PS4, but I might try to snag a director's cut version.
sure.
I just want to play that game. Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds cool, and I really enjoyed what I did play. Like I said, just got
Mhm.
distracted with work, and I think that was right around the time I was starting this job. So
Yeah, that sounds about
or
right.
just before. So yeah, need to
For
go
sure.
back.
Cool. Well, you can't right now because you've been playing a different game, correct?
Yeah, I am. I'm stuck in the ancient era. I've been playing a game called Humankind. It's Sega. They are publishing this new 4X strategy game. It's on PC, and it is. If you aren't familiar, 4X games, you probably have heard of Civilization, Civ 5, Civ 6. The Civilization series is kind of the long-standing king of these games. You are I'm trying to think of like the best way to describe it. The map is built into hexes, like hex tiles, and you sort of start small and build your empire out from there. And along the way, you will fight other enemies. You'll make peace treaties with other players, AI or real, depending on what match you're playing. You will set up trade routes. It's just a game about expansion, whether that is literally or expanding your scientific research, expanding, the output of your crops. There's many ways to win in these sorts of games, and the main draw is that you get to pick a nation, a people group, and see them go from the ancient era all the way to modern day, typically in these games. And that's exactly what Humankind is. You're starting out in the Neolithic era, and you progress, and as you collect these era stars, which they are like your main goals, and they carry over and persist through each era. So in the Neolithic era, your three goals are grow your population, hunt food, and find curiosities, which is like, oh, you discovered fire, or you discovered berries, like whatever it is. And as you do those tasks, you will get era stars. And I think in the first era, you just need 3 of them. And then you go to the ancient era, and now you have more access to more units. So instead of cavemen, you're slightly more advanced. You can have archers and that kind of thing. And the whole game is that. And it just continues to build on itself until I haven't reached the end of the game. But eventually you will get to where you are like flying to Mars. And so you start as cavemen and go all the way to space, essentially. And the games are very long. I've played this for 5.5 hours, 5 hours, something like that. And I am on turn 128. And there are 300 turns in the game. So I'm not even halfway through one match of the game.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They
Wait.
are. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, back this up for my dumb brain. how much evolution goes in one match, because you're talking about going from cavemen to space warriors, right?
Yeah.
It's like, where's your group at?
I usually get about, I think I'm in the early modern era, so like colonial times.
Okay.
So I am just now getting like, I think the last era I played, I got like ships and like mercantile ships and stuff. And I'm still not even to like I think I'm in like the 1800s if I had to guess. That's about where I'm at.
Okay.
17, 1800, somewhere in there.
So by the end of that 300th turn or whatever, you will be in the space race.
If I'm playing my game correctly, yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
And so the way that you win, there's several win factors, but the main way is that you have to collect enough fame for your nation. And at the end of those 300 turns, I think it's like at the end of the 300th turn, whoever has the most fame wins, or the game ends once somebody gets to Mars. There's different win conditions, but you get fame by completing, building wonders of the world. So like you could build like the great, pyramids. You could build. I'm trying to think of other wonders of the world. There's been a lot throughout history.
Can you build Niagara Falls, maybe?
Maybe. I don't think so because that's not man-made. But the wonders of the world, you can build them. They help you get fame. You get fame through warfare and being dominant in that regard, or maybe you're just like your people are known for their scientific innovation, and you can get fame that way. And so you kind of start the game, and you pick a nation. Each era you get to pick a new nation, and that's different from civilization games, because in civ games, let's say you want to pick Canada, and so you're going to take Canada from the early game all the way to the end game. In this game, each era you can pick a new people group, and so I think I started off. I have my notes here. I picked the Assyrians. They were my first my first people group after I evolved from cavemen, and I picked them because they had an expansionist trait, and their goals were all about just expanding their empire, whether through peace or through combat. And I did it peacefully, but every time I expanded my empire and claimed new territories, I got points, and then I got enough stars from that to go to the next era. And I think I actually I picked the Romans, and they were expansionists as well, so on and so forth. I unlocked like the steeds and like the chariots, and now I have access to those units. And then I decided, well, this next era, the way that my team, think of it as like a giant Risk match. If you've ever played the board game Risk,
okay, yep,
that's kind of what you're dealing with. You have different people and occupying different spots, and you are kind of trying to expand and have the most spots, right?
Cool.
And so yeah, it's all about balancing that. And like one area you might say, oh, I don't want to talk to other people. I just want to focus on building up my empire's agrarian efforts. So I went with the English because they had bonuses for farming and stuff. I know your eyes are all glazing over. If you've ever played a 4X game, it is very, very deep. It is overwhelming, but the game does a great job of recognizing that. There's several prompts that'll come up and be like, hey, here's this new system if you want to mess around with it, but don't worry if it's confusing because we're throwing a lot at you. You can always just like play and experiment with this several games later. So the game's very good about like encouraging you, and even though it is throwing a lot at you, I feel like it spaces things out enough where you can start to pick it up, and after enough turns, you get it down. So yeah, 5 hours, halfway through my first game. I think I'm gonna win. I currently have the most fame. I'm killing it. I'm in the early modern era. The other fools are still in the classical era. I'm like, I'm moving forward, baby.
You love it. You love it.
That's Humankind. It's really cool. I think it's $50. It's out on the EGS and Steam. Okay. So I recommend checking it out if you're into strategy games or you want to try your first 4X game. I think this is a good place to start.
Cool. Beautiful. That sounds like a fun time. Jigwe Sao, speaking of a fun time.
Hello.
You and I locked helmets yesterday.
Yes, we did.
Absolutely. A little game called Madden 22. You're unfamiliar with it.
Does this game have peace treaties in it?
There is a space race in this too. Okay. Jay, I don't think so. We didn't play franchise. Maybe they go to space and play
Monday Night Combat.
Jay, what do you think of Madden so far? Where are you at in it? How are you enjoying it?
So I still haven't played a ton of Madden. I want to say the most amount of time I put into Madden in one sitting would be when we were going head to head the other day. But I will say I've started my fantasy draft and franchise, which is something I always do. And I'm like really like meticulous with fantasy drafts. Like what I'll do is I'll wait till I can like I keep like reloading my save until I have like the very first pick. I mean, I'm the
Dang.
Jets. I'm the Jet. I play as the Jets, so we need that first pick. You know what I'm saying? So I always reload it, and then I like pick a player, and then I always create new save points after each one. And I'm just keeping eyes on other players who've been taken. And if somebody's taken and I want them, I'll go back to an original save and be like,
Oh
I'll
my
get them here.
gosh.
Yeah, it's nuts, dude. So like, really, my fantasy draft can take close to like 3 hours to really complete. But I used to be a huge Madden fan, and I was telling Statnik this the other day. I think it's like Madden 16 or 17 was like the last Madden I like truly played, like put hundreds of hours into, and I think I did 25 years in my franchise. And get this, here's the wild part: 15-minute quarters. So each game was about 3 hours. So
Oh
I
my
did 20,
gosh.
You're a
25
madman.
years. 25 years of that. I had my coach. His name was Ziggy Grover. I don't know if anybody watches Power Rangers RPM, but he's the Green Ranger from Power Rangers RPM. My coach Ziggy Grover, 25 years, 375 wins and about 15 losses. We go to the Super Bowl every year.
Legend.
So yeah, legendary, man, legendary.
Dang.
But anyways, Madden 22. I've been enjoying it. There's still like some like ragdolling and some like players like catching on to one another, and then other times when you really need someone to come up and make a big pick, they just stand there and let Stadnik get the ball and run it 60 yards into the end zone. That happens from time to time too. But I mean,
hold on. You want to talk about
Here we
sticky
go.
mechanics? All right, sure. We're gonna get the feud going here. This man ran a slant route, right? Very smart play to run on the goal line, right? Not a chance this person in real life catches the ball. Not a chance. Then the computer speeds him up. He goes like 3,000 miles an hour and happens to catch it in the end zone. So if you're used to that kind of shenanigans and tomfoolery, you're gonna be right at home in Madden.
Absolutely.
Talking about me getting interceptions.
It's true, that definitely does happen in Madden. That's part of the gameplay loop, I guess. But I mean, I'm having fun. I think I'm having a lot of fun with it just because I've been away from it for so long. So I've kind of like been away from the major criticisms of like, oh, it's just like a reskin and all that kind of stuff. But I will say there are some animations and some mechanics that do feel like I've seen them in Madden 16 and 17. So there's that. But the crowds are louder. The game feels a bit more atmospheric. It's I think it's the second Madden on like next gen consoles, and it feels and plays and looks pretty solid for the most part. And I've heard that they've really like reupholstered the franchise mode, and there's all these like new cinematics and like some RPG elements to it. So once I finish my 3 hours of my fantasy draft, I can let everybody know what franchise is actually like. But yeah, I've been enjoying it for the most part.
For sure. And something, and forgive me if this was in last year's, which it could have been, but I didn't play a ton of last year's. There is something in the exhibition games that we played where you can kind of set your game offensive and defensive game plan, and it gives you pluses and minuses from what you pick. So it's like, if I'm playing with the Vikes, which unfortunately I did and paid the price for it, I set my game plan to running up the middle because Dalvin Cook's a beast, and it's like, cool, your offensive linemen are going to get buffed, but then like, I don't know, like your wide, or if you try to run outside, you're going to have, there could be some negatives to that, or like your wide receivers aren't going to be as reliable or something like that. It's not necessarily, I don't think it's game ruining if you pick the wrong thing. Because, if you're playing as the Vikings or the Jets, you're going to have to try to come from behind, and you're going to have to pass a lot. So, there's flexibility in that system, but I thought it was interesting that they were trying to gamify it a little bit more, which I liked. So,
Agreed.
Do you think you're going to stick with it, Jay?
I do. I think I'm going to really stick with it. I'm aiming for 30 years this time in franchise. Let's see how that goes. I already set the quarters to 15 minutes, but like I said, I haven't even played the first game yet. So
we'll
see what happens. I'm nuts, dude. I'm nuts.
Yeah, that's wild.
Cool. Well, I think that does it for the playlist today.
I've been playing things.
Oh, you got something? Sorry, you weren't on
all kinds of games lately.
I thought you were
bro.
playing 12 minutes.
No, I beat that game. Reviews on the site. Dead to me.
Sorry. You weren't in our pre-pro notes. I apologize. Blake, Give
What's
us
up?
a game you're playing. Give us a game you're playing.
Which one you want? I've been playing Metal Gear Solid 5 and Dead Space 2.
What do
Nice.
you get to talk about one? What do you want?
Well, Metal Gear Solid 5 is better, but
That's what I was gonna suggest. Metal
Yeah.
Gear.
But I don't really have any much to say about it. It's just great. The best.
Okay. Well, okay.
Let's do Dead Space then.
Yeah, I've been playing Dead Space 2. Close friend of the show and friend of Reagan, Jacob Geller, just really beating my door down, saying, Blake, you gotta play Dead Space 2. You gotta play Dead Space 2. I'm like, if it means you'll leave me alone, I'll play Dead Space 2. No, I'm just kidding. Jacob recommended I play it, and he has yet to steer me wrong. So I started playing it after watching his beautiful video on it. And man, that game, really cool, really great. I played the first Dead Space in like high school. Hadn't played this one. Everything people say about the gameplay of that, just the best. Dismembering the necromorphs, the chunk. Just
chunk.
oh, it's just so satisfying. But let me tell you what, that game, mind-numbingly annoying.
Wait, what? This is a 180.
Yeah, what's happening?
Yeah, I contain multitudes.
Yeah. You're an onion.
Complex thinker. Remember, Killscreen wrote for that.
Yeah.
No, so it's been kind of this weird experience for me where I'm playing it, and when I'm playing it, it's like when I'm shooting and when I'm doing all that, I'm like, this rips. The game's approach to horror is so antithetical to what I think makes for good horror.
Sure.
And it's a horror game, so I can't escape this horror. And what I've kind of come down to is like Dead Space is not really interested. Dead Space 2 is not really interested in scaring the player. It's kind of obsessed with terrorizing the player. And this is like super evident by the opening of the game, which is viscerally just disgusting. In a way I really like. The opening scene with the man's face being torn apart. His head doesn't even explode. His
It's
face
the
is
worst.
torn apart. The restrictions of the straight jacket you're wearing, the scene where the man commits suicide right in front of you. This all happens within 20 minutes. I went from home screen in my Xbox petting my dog during a loading screen to that level of brutality and extremeness and horror. And that, I think, is very effective because it's kind of like a bait and switch, really. You know, you're not leading the viewer up to the horror. You're just hitting them with it immediately. The problem with the game, I've found, and has made my time with it super exhausting, is it operates at that tempo for the rest of the game. And that is not scary. That is annoying.
An onslaught.
Yeah.
That you can't operate at that tempo because you may think you're being scary by having things constantly bombarding the player, but you're not. You're just shocking for the sake of not having any better ideas. Horror is
the anticipation, right?
Exactly. Horror doesn't work without the tension and the dread of effectively silence or mystery, unless it only works in the way Dead Space 1 it to work is if it's a very truncated experience. There are plenty of hour-long extreme horror movies that I'm not sure I can recommend and keep my job, but that operate on that level, but they're out in 60 minutes. This is a 10-hour game. And finally, I was like, it's kind of a bummer, right? Because I know people talk about Dead Space 2 as like the bigger, more action-packed one, but they also talk about the first two games in such high regard for their horror, and I completely disagree. I think the horror is cheap and amateurish at best until the Ishimura level. Oh my lord, bro. Let me just go in on this level.
episode.
I went to the Ishimura level. I don't care. Whenever games are like introduce a location from a previous game and you're supposed to be like, I remember those assets from a couple of years ago. Never does much for me. Do not care. But it's like finally the moment Dead Space 2 shuts up for a little while. And for like 25 minutes, nothing happens in that level. You're just going through these dark corridors. And it's like playing some little tricks on you, some like some noise trick. It's like finally building effective horror. And when it finally all like explodes, it's earned that moment. And it like almost made me do a 180 on the game entirely, where I went from like I'm enjoying the gameplay, but like if I have to keep dealing with this just obnoxious assault of sounds and gore, which like I can't do this too much longer. And then I hit that Ishimura level, and it was so good and so effective. It's scaring me. I literally thought I was gonna have a panic attack playing this level because it just shuts up. Like it just stops. And it's just like you know it's coming, and it holds it for so long. You're like, it's been 5 minutes. When's it coming? And it's like 20 minutes of just silence and dread that like I fell in love with. I love horror. Horror is a huge part of my life. And it like completely, I feel like I've gone over the moon with the game from that one level alone. And I'm beyond the level now where it's kind of gone back to where it was, but I was so hot on the setup of the Ishimura level that like completely changed my mind on it entirely. And I'm like,
That's awesome.
I'm a little bummed because I feel like I don't really buy into why people love this game. I just love this one level so much that it's like negating a lot of the bad in the game for me. But yeah, I don't know. I've just been really stoked on it. I've played that level like a week ago, and I have been thinking about it nonstop.
You
And
brought it up
like,
a couple times in our morning meeting.
Yeah, it's like maybe an hour of the game, and man, it's really cool. I also really love the intro of that game. For ironically the reasons I don't love the rest of the game, but the intro works so well because it's the introduction of that. It's just you can't hold that for 4, 5, 6 hours.
For sure.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I just want to give a little shout out to that game and that level. I recommend playing it. I'm really interested to go back to Dead Space 1 because I straight up played that like probably like 2010, maybe.
I've been playing it recently with
what do you
my
think
girlfriend. I think like, you know, it's been scaring the crap out of me personally, you know, and what's really funny about it too is that I was like at her house playing it, and we had the sound bar on, and so, you know, like you're just getting like, you know, like certain sounds from that. But then when I went home and streamed it for her and threw my headset on, it's just like straight up whispers and people actually saying things.
That's what
so
the Ishimura level does in Dead Space 2. Yeah,
it's nuts. It's not, and it's like it's really, really good. It was kind of the opposite for me. Like I played Dead Space 1 like in 8th grade and just couldn't do it. But I got Dead Space 2, and it's basically just an action game. Like you just shoot, it's like you're blowing everything up. But I like, it's just interesting to go back and kind of have like a slower paced horror game, and it really builds up the tension in those moments. And like sometimes you know, you're getting like some like sensory overload with like the sounds. You'll enter a room and there'll be these really loud sounds, and like machines are just like malfunctioning, and it sounds just like necromorphs running at you, and then necromorphs do start running at you but from behind, and it's just it's nuts. So
I will say one thing about Dead Space that is I feel like people do not talk about. Now I'm not easily offended by gore. Love gore. Shout out to all my Honoru heads out there. If you know, you know.
Do I have to bleep that too?
No. It's fine. I love gore. Like I love my dog. That game is unbelievable. It's so wild. Like you know what? When people talk about the video game violence conversation, like, are video games too violent? I'm playing Dead Space 2 right now, and I'm like, yeah, maybe actually, this is a bit much. Like, I got a saw. I'm just like cutting dudes' arms off, cutting their heads off. They're vomiting on me. Like, it is unbelievable. If these weren't monsters, this game would not be able to be sold in most countries. If these were humans, it's out of control. And I've put myself through the gore ringer over the years, and even this one, I'm like, Jesus,
So like,
calm
yeah, maybe they have a
down.
point.
Yeah. Yeah, when
fantastic.
when
That's
Donald Trump
funny.
wanted to ban the video games, I was like, at least ban Dead Space. Good Lord. It is so much.
Oh,
And when
man.
you're stomping on the body.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had I
Out
don't
of
know if I could call
control.
it pleasure, but I had the pleasure of playing those on replay because Reiner delighted in my pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was up with I got sent to the gauntlet my first month here. I joined in October, and they're like, "You're gonna play all the horror games, buddy." I was like, "I get stressed out by horror. I don't. My Fridays, I don't like waking up on Fridays now." And they're like, "It's Halloween season, baby. Too bad."
You gotta love it. Well,
Man.
cool. I think that's a good playlist. I don't know about you guys, but I think we've been playing some fun stuff. We are gonna take a little quick break, and then we're gonna do some community emails. How about that?
I'm
How
gonna
about that? Sounds good. You're gonna leave? Okay, I'll see you later. Welcome back to the GI Show. Deadass did not think Blake actually had to leave, and he left. So
He was being serious. He's got a tone about him that he always kind of sounds a little sarcastic.
yeah, for
And you're
real.
like, "Are you joking right now? Or are you being real?"
And he's like,
And
no.
it turns
I
out he
seriously have to
actually
go.
had an appointment.
We wish him well. Thank you for joining us. So we are back with community emails, and this section is important to us in the new era of the GI Show, because this is where your voice, the people who support our show, get to be heard, right? And that, we don't want to take that away. We're coming up with some new ideas how we think we can accent it, and I alluded to it in the beginning, but I think I've calmed down a little bit, and now I can better talk about what I articulate. There it is. Articulate what I was talking about. So I'm putting out a call to action to our lovely fan group. We want to hear you guys ask some awesome questions week to week, but it's time to get a little spice. Let's get a little spice going. Did we officially name this section?
I think it was Heat Map.
Heat Map. Yeah, that's right. We want to introduce Heat Map, and what Heat Map is a section where you are going to send us. I can't remember. It was a while ago, but like Kyle Hilliard sent in an audio clip of himself sending us a message to the GI faithful, right? And we want to do the same with you. We want you guys to send in an audio clip to podcast@GameInformer.com and send us your hot takes. Now, I'm just going to be real with you. We're going to screen them for one. So like, if you think you can be a funny guy, it's not going to happen. That's the beauty of editing, right? But like, send us some actual thoughts, some actual hot takes that you guys have, like like Dante's Inferno is as good as God of War or something like that. And back
I'm gonna say probably
right?
just preemptively maybe keep it like less than a minute.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. We can't print your doctorate, unfortunately. I apologize for that. But
you can say a lot of things with few words. That's the best part about hot takes.
Correct.
Is you just say your statement with no caveats, and everybody gets really angry.
Yeah.
But keep them tasteful.
Yes, exactly. Because I mean, that's the thing. If you don't keep it tasteful, we're not going to play it. So like, don't waste your time. Don't waste our time. And if this is better as a read thing, I know not everyone has a mic that they want to share, right? But maybe that's what this becomes if people want to send them in. But I think for the start, we want to, for the people who really support us, we want to reward you by putting your voice on here and letting your hot takes be known. So send them in, podcast@GameInformer.com. You know it, you love it, send them in. But that's not going to supplant actual reader questions like we have this week. And before I get to this one, I know we're doing a lot of housekeeping today, but it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And guess what, baby? I'm feeling good.
I'm feeling so good.
You can also, if you're a part of our Game Informer Discord, you can put questions into the Game Informer Show segment of our Discord. We'll count those. We'll read you off like we have this week. But I think that can be an easy way to get across questions and keep rewarding our lovely GI community. So thank you for sending those in. I have one from earlier in the week last week. So podcast@GameInformer.com and our Discord. Send those questions in. We'd love to hear from you. So let's kick things off, shall we?
Let's do it.
First one, Tommy from the internet, a little town called the internet. Don't know if you guys have ever been.
Hello, Tommy.
One of my favorite things about GI is the positivity that seems to be at the core of everything you do. my questions are: do you find it a struggle to stay positive? Do you think positivity is important to you all as people individually as well as an organization? And then he says a very nice shout out for me, and that he is loving the Discord. So thank you, Tom. We appreciate you. And I know positivity can be difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. So I don't know if one of you want to take this to start, or if you want me to keep rambling, I can.
No, I've actually been thinking about this lately, just in my own personal life. I feel like I used to be a very optimistic person growing up, even into like my, young 20s. Very optimistic person, and then somewhere along the line, I feel like I became a pessimist. And I have been scraping and clawing, trying to get back to being an optimist because I think the world is better that way, and I think there's a difference between positive and being naive,
Yes.
And I know I'm making it more serious than, I don't know if they were talking about just gaming, but it's been on my mind lately. I think it's definitely been a struggle for me to stay positive amidst the past, a half decade, insert here, like everything that's gone wrong with our country, just general everyday life, adult stuff, which I know Gen Z love when millennials talk about adulting. Um, sorry, I've been watching TikTok.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah, my For You page is like attacking me right now.
Yeah.
But no, I think positivity is important. I think sometimes it can be used to deter helpful critique. I think there's a place for positivity. There's a place for pessimism and being discerning. And but as people, as myself, I like to be positive. I try to be positive. And I think as an organization, Reiner always brings up in our meetings, he wants to, as an organization, our directive is to, celebrate games. So we're still going to be reporting on the bad things that happen. As you can see, we've been reporting on the Activision Blizzard stuff recently, but we also, celebrate games as well. And you can go and see that by our mini features, Marcus's dodgeball feature from last week, just talking about how, hey, this thing's really awesome and I would like to see more of it. Stuff like that. I think it's important, and the balance is important. So yeah,
sure.
That's my perspective.
That the balance comment is interesting to me because I have struggled with that balance. Because when I came into this industry, I've seen a lot of snark on the timeline, right? I've seen the dunks and stuff, and I don't have any interest in being a part of that. I know it gets likes, I know it gets retweets, but like that's not who I want to be in this industry. And I don't take pleasure in dunking on games because I'm a creative and I know a lot of creatives work on games, and it sucks when people don't like your work. But at the same time, I have a responsibility being at Game Informer. That Informer part's important, right? So, because I don't want to sign off on a game that's bad, right? So trying to find the right way to talk about things has been something I've been working on. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm actively trying. The Ascent was a good example of that. Was a test for me because if you don't know, I reviewed the Ascent, Neon Giants twin stick shooter that came out at the end of July, and there was fun parts, and I really wanted to hone in on those fun parts though. But there was problems with that game that I had to bring up because if y'all listen to reviews, we're telling you how to spend your money, and I know that is a finite resource for a lot of people. So there is a responsibility to this, and it's a hard line to walk, and I don't know if I've struck the right balance on it yet, but I'm definitely learning how to be. But I think Alex's point and Reiner's point is spot on of like, we are trying to find games that we can be positive, right? We're seeking that out so we can have fun conversations like we've had it's with Madden, and walking that line is difficult. Jay, you're a pretty positive person, right? How do you go
It's funny you say that. No, I feel like I can be a pretty positive person. I will say that I definitely agree about the balance thing. I also agree with what Van Aken was saying about and I think this hits a little more closely to home for me just like very recently, like this summer has been like relatively like a difficult time for me. I won't go into everything, but it hasn't been a great summer. And it feels like it's been like back to back to back to back. I just think like finding that balance for positive, like it's a little bit easier when you surround yourself with like great people, you know, like coming on the podcast, talking to you guys, it's always wonderful. And that definitely like brightens up my day. But then like, you know, like the down moments, like where you're just kind of
When you
alone.
log off and you're like, okay.
Exactly.
Going back to life. Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
you just rip off your headset, like, all right, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I think, and I even think like another thing as somebody who, like, I interned at Game Informer and I was sort of away from the industry, like at least in a professional sense, for a really long time. So coming back to it and being green, you know, you go through like bouts of imposter syndrome and stuff
Yep.
like that, you know, because everybody around you is so freaking talented, and you feel like you can't compare. So like, and that's something like, you know, that I feel like I have to deal with, like probably like on a daily basis, I would say. And it's like it's just something that like you just sort of work through, like maybe with therapy, but also just having like great people around you to remind you, like, nah, dude, you do belong here. Like you are
Yeah.
great, you know? And so, yeah, like, again, like, you know, hopefully like, I feel like we took this like the really serious route.
We did.
Yeah, for real.
But no, yeah, I mean, like, I definitely think positivity is important. And I think like, I think even just that, like Reiner as a leader, he's always very positive. And the morning meetings, like, you know, especially on Mondays when everybody's just like, oh crap, like
Here we
the
go.
week, you know,
Yeah.
here's the, you know,
Yep.
we're starting the week. Like Reiner's always like very positive, and I feel like it's very infectious with the rest of the team. Like it all kind of brightens all of us too. So, so
Definitely.
yeah.
I think, and to not to end this on a dour note too, I think positivity has become very hard as I've lost my naivete when it comes to video games. Because coming into
He's
this
lost his
industry,
innocence.
it's Plague Tale, baby. I came into this industry idolizing a lot of people, and unfortunately, over the last 2 years, some of those people have revealed their true selves, and you know, losing those people you look up to is hard, not nearly as hard as the victims of some of what's gone on, right? And you know, this like the Activision Blizzard stuff too is abhorrent. So it's hard. It gets hard focusing on the good in this industry and knowing who like you can look up to and whatnot. And that's definitely taken its toll, but I think that's why it's even more important to double down on the games and the people who are doing good things and exemplifying what got us all here in the first place, right? These adventures, this escapism, these wonderful stories that we are so blessed to be able to get to play. So I think keeping that in focus and having the crew around me that we do is instrumental in that, because I feel the same way, Jay. Like I think we have some of the best people in the industry.
Absolutely.
Game Informer. I think we have the best work in the industry at Game Informer. So that makes it easier to have a smile on your face when you come into the office every day. So beautiful. Well,
Sure.
we got real. All right.
Yeah.
Here to the emails, baby. Next question comes from a Discord user. And we've plugged it enough, but you know, Discord question here, and they've truncated their name a little bit, so forgive me if I mispronounce this, but I'm assuming it's the ghost of Mitch Hedberg. I think that's...
Yeah, he's an old comedian.
Oh, okay.
Not
there
old,
we go.
Deceased, unfortunately.
Yeah. R.I.P.
But he's back in our Discord channel, apparently.
Oh, it's haunted. See, if you like ghosts, come to the Discord.
That's dark.
For the listener question segment, I'd love to know how streaming live affects the way you play. After watching Marcus Stewart play Sekiro, I feel like there's moments where he feels rushed because of the stream versus if I've been playing normally. Oh, let's get into it, baby. This is a whole can of worms that if you've never done it, you don't know how it feels, right? And it's something I didn't know anything about until I started at GI.
It can be great, but it can be awful.
Genuinely.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there is a level of and shout out to the people who do this every day. You know, I think people still today are like, oh, you play video games professionally. That's not a job. It's not hard. Being a showman while being good at a video game is damn hard, because you have to worry about engaging hundreds of people while also, you know, slaying hundreds of people. If you're playing a multiplayer game, you know, it adds to the tension.
I mean, for me, the second part comes naturally, you know? I'm just good on the 6, maybe.
I don't see a lie. Where do you see one?
Nope. No lie detected.
No lie detected. But, you know, it's a new level of pressure that I know I wasn't used to coming into this job. But there is a level of satisfaction that comes from it, I think, especially like, if you're playing Halo and you go 20-2, you did that while also attempting to be humorous or engaging to your community, right?
Everybody just saw you pull off that awesome match,
right?
And there's like a high almost like, I am the stuff. I don't want to have to make you bleep anything out.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Lord knows we have a couple. Jay, what's your experience been? Because you've been on a couple of streams with me.
I've been on a couple of streams. Yeah, I feel like I haven't been on like a bunch of streams that have tested my mechanics. Thank goodness, because I feel like if I was, I probably really wouldn't do well at the game that I'd be playing. But like I recall like, I think a Phasmophobia stream back in the day, which was fun, and that you don't have to worry about being good at that, right? Like, I mean, if you die, there's the entertainment right there, right? So if you're bad at it, it's perfect. But like something like like Apex, it's like if you don't get wins on the stream, it's like, what are you doing here? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
for real, yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, the Madden stream was a bunch of fun. We both made a bunch of mistakes, but that's what made it like great too, and they were really close games. So so yeah, no, I mean, something that I remember was like back in the day, gosh, it's not really back in the day, it's probably like a year and a half ago or something, when Mixer was still around on Xbox. I don't remember the name of the channel, but there was this channel that would come like while you were streaming like Apex or like maybe Overwatch, and they would hop in like right into the last couple seconds of your match or something, right? And that was cool because you get like 5,000 people just randomly watching you, and then
like
of course
a hot moment or something.
Exactly. So many times that like I'd be having like a great match with my friends, and the minute they hop in, we're literally getting destroyed and teabagged at the same time, like right when the people are there, and everybody's just like, "Oh, these kids are scrubs," like
and they just leave, and you're like,
just leave immediately. so yeah, no, I mean there definitely is like that pressure, but when it does go well, it's like a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah. And you brought up an interesting point too, is like learning that the mistakes are okay. Because I'm very competitive person by nature. So when I was on streaming Apex and I was getting dunked on at the start of my career, there was an internal like voice that was like, "You're bad. Like this is bad. You're screwing up." Right. But we can make fun of that. I threw 11 interceptions yesterday against you. Like, kick me off the damn field. But it was funny, and if you lean into it, then I think the community is going to be happier. You're going to be happier, and then you relax a little bit. And I think that's key. Is just being yourself, not trying to be someone else. And trying to leverage that and have some fun. Because at the end of the day, like, we're playing video games. It is a job for people, but like, video games are meant to be fun. And I hope y'all have fun watching us while we attempt to play them. I don't know if what I did yesterday was playing Madden, but I attempted to play it. So. Last one for the day, and then we're going to get you out of here. So this is from Chris Calvert. I believe I'm pronouncing the name right. But Chris says, for decades now, I've heard fellow gamers complain about escort missions, and yet they still seem commonplace in video games. Do y'all have any examples of a good escort mission? And then do you have any ideas on how to make escort missions more playable? Do you have, gents, do you want to start? Actually, Alex, I think you have a message from a fallen comrade here.
Yeah, Blake, before he left, in a very rushed fashion, he said, somebody say that Ashley from Resident Evil 4, he said, Ashley from Resident Evil 4, leave her alone. That's what he told me to say. I haven't played Resident Evil 4. So I don't know what that means, but
there it is.
I delivered the message.
There we go.
Wanted me to.
Chat, you do, or comment section, do what you do.
What's up with Ashley in games? You got Ashley in Resident Evil and in Mass Effect. Nobody ever likes Ashleys.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah. Observation for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the one, right? But Last of Us, that first game, Ellie never felt like a burden. Because the problem with escort missions, right, is when you feel like the escortee is getting in the way, which they tend to do, versus something like Last of Us, where she was an active help, or like Elizabeth from BioShock Infinite, right? They were active helpers and never really stepped on your toes. And honestly, I think that comes down to AI, right? And not every studio is going to have the budget to create these hyper intelligent beings that never step on your toes. So I don't know, maybe there's a more nuanced take out there, but I think a lot of that comes down to that. So.
Yeah. I totally agree. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, right? The Last of Us and BioShock Infinite came out the same year, right? Was that 2013?
Yep.
I vaguely remember because I was like right before I was like starting undergrad, and I was playing both of those games, and they're like incredibly formative, like now for narratives, right? They
Oh,
just both
yeah.
came out in the same year, and I remember like I love The Last of Us, but I just remember BioShock Infinite, like that was the game that like I just stuck with, and like I still stick with like to this day, especially when it comes to escort missions. There was just something about like you said, Satnik, like the AI. Like I think what's really important for like escort missions, like to make them more digestible, is like to have like an interesting character that you're escorting. You know, instead of like this robot that doesn't talk, doesn't feel anything. And also like I think what also pisses off a lot of gamers is like when you have like a character that you're escorting that dies. You know, and they just run out there and get killed by just like random like bullets and stuff. Like it's kind of nice when you don't have to worry about that aspect of them. But something that really shocked me, at least about Elizabeth in BioShock, was that you would have like a cutscene where you'd get into a fight with her, and then as you moved through the world, you might walk up to her and she'll turn her back on you because she's upset with you right now. You know what I'm saying? And just stuff like that sort of gives that escort character like more human qualities. And then also, you know, you're in the middle of fights and she's throwing ammo at you and opening rips and stuff like it's just super cool, or tears rather. It's just really cool. And I think, at least for me, BioShock Infinite like stands at like the top for like escort game.
I agree.
Sure.
Yeah. I just remember I was in my dorm room and my roommate was playing it and my suite mate was playing it. And by the end of it, it literally looked like a detective room where we had like diagrams and the red strings trying to piece everything together.
Right,
but,
right.
you know, those moments of losing Elizabeth in the world, right, and then like running up on her, dancing or interacting with people, like they were just special. You know, that game is special for a lot of reasons, but Elizabeth is a huge part of that. So
absolutely,
yeah.
I think like I think there's a lot of like multiplayer modes that are kind of like derivative of escort missions, like VIP modes in games where like one person on your team is like the guy, and if they get killed you lose. I really like those kind of game modes. And also like just like payload matches, like Team Fortress 2, Overwatch obviously does it, but like Team Fortress 2, like, you know, you're escorting your bomb cart through the map, and there's an attacking side and a defending side, and that's like an escort mission that I can get behind because it's like the tension is there. Man, I gotta play Team Fortress 2. It's been a minute.
It's been a second.
Yeah. But I always like those kind of there's a moving objective, right? I like that in multiplayer games. I think it's cool. And I think like Battlefield over the years have had like single player missions where you're essentially like escorting a tank, and those are always like decently fun. You know, nothing too amazing, but you know, it kind of works with that formula. You're hitting the ground, you're looking for the dudes, you're, you know, prone and scoping, and yeah, that'd be my answer.
Jay, I'm a little disappointed you didn't mention what I thought would be your favorite escort mission.
Oh,
and that's carrying me when we played Apex on stream.
Oh my God. That's good. Incredible.
Oh, incredible indeed. Well, folks, I think that's an episode. Are we good? Everyone check themselves, make sure the wheels didn't fall off, as Ben said in the beginning. You know, genuinely, this is a dream come true for me. Getting to host this show. And to get to do it with some of the best people in the industry is very humbling. And you know, like I said, we're gonna make mistakes. I know I was nervous as hell to start the show, but I really hope you stick with us. I hope you know, Ben's not going anywhere. He's gonna be on the show, and he's gonna be doing his own stuff. Alex and I are gonna listen to feedback. You know, we want all of it, the good and the bad, because like I said in the beginning, this is everyone who listens to and watches this show. It's your show, you know, and I want to be respectful of that. And like I said, I'm just honored to be able to do it on a weekly basis now. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. As always, you can find all of our glorious stuff, GameInformer.com, YouTube.com/GameInformer, and Twitch.tv/GameInformer. And you know what? I think I'm gonna come back next time. How about that? Huh?
You should. I think
Hopefully,
you should.
I'm hoping y'all join me too. So be good to one another, and we will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.